Jesus is my joy.
Jesus is compassion.
Jesus is greater than my depression.
Jesus is changing me.
Jesus is grace.
Jesus is a second chance.
Jesus is for everyone.
Jesus is the reason I'm not an angry person anymore. Jesus is everything. I mean, he's God.
Oh man, Jesus is a fresh start.
Jesus is joy. Jesus is strength.
Jesus is my Father.
Jesus is the healer of broken hearts.
Jesus is greater than anxiety.
Jesus is father to the fatherless.
Jesus is comfort in the storm.
Jesus is victorious over the enemy.
Jesus is my reason to not give up.
Jesus is my best friend.
Jesus is always with me.
Jesus is greater than my insecurities.
Jesus is here for me even when no one else is.
Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Greater than my circumstances and fears.
My Prince of Peace.
My lifeguard.
Jesus is greater than I.
Jesus is healer.
Jesus is my Savior and who saves me during my battles.
Jesus is everything.
Jesus is the one who never gives up on me.
Jesus is the beginning and the end. Jesus is King of all nations.
Jesus is my everything.
Jesus is more than enough to satisfy me.
Jesus is my calm in the storm. Jesús es amor.
Jesús es mi hogar. Jesus is my Savior.
Jesus is the epitome of goodness.
Jesus is my commander.
Jesus is my chain breaker.
Jesus is my joy.
Jesus is confirmation.
Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice, giving his own life.
Jesus is a comforter.
Jesus is forgiving.
Jesus is the one who shaped me into who I am today.
Jesus is great.
Jesus never gives up on you.
Jesus is my reason for hope.
Jesus to me is impeccable. Jesus is the reason I can find worth in myself.
Jesus is the salt to my pepper.
Jesus is greater than my loneliness. Jesus is greater than my fear.
Jesus is bigger than me.
Jesus is hope.
When you're ready, you can just look straight to the camera.
Jesus is like Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One, and the rebels are us, and his lightsaber is grace, and he's just grace, grace, grace. I lift you up in grace.
A little bit.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Sorry, that's why I waited so I can take my time.
Wiping that for me. Whacking that thing.
Don't flick it to me!
And that one too. Sorry.
There's another one?
Yeah. Okay. Astral, can you pick this guy?
Yeah, but I just let him.
I was gonna matches.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, so when do I
You're
go?
good. No worries.
How's my
Don't
roll?
worry, you can do that. It's not gonna help us.
I did too. That's why I snickered.
Is that not the funny one?
No.
Okay. Don't do it.
Alright. Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
I have a friend in Jesus.
Thank you.